the button.
Push it.
Let me get on the right notepad. I use the hell out of the notepad app.
The notepad app.
Yeah, like that's where I keep
Like
like
on
all
your
my
phone?
breeding records
Yeah,
and
no.
like all my other stuff.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
do
been
the same
really
thing.
handy.
I actually
Yeah.
use the notepad app on my phone at work for my work phone too. I literally put all my notes in that. It's great. So much better than
I like it.
writing stuff
Right.
like a nerd.
Good night.
No, I'm just kidding.
Anyways, this is episode
There you go. It's your turn.
159 of the Herpetoculture podcast. I am Jacob Bratz with Longleaf Reptilia.
I'm Justin Smith, Palmetto Coast Exotics.
And this show was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com or BlackBox Cages. Well, where are we? There it is. Whoop. Wow. Yeah. Check them out. Best of the best. You want a cage? They can hook you up. You want a rack? They can hook you up. Super customizable in every way, shape, and form. You can add different heat zones in your racks. You have tons of different options for cagings, different sizes, different heating elements, different lights, whatever you want. They can make it happen, man.
We will actually have, so we're currently in the planning stages of the next Snakes and Stogies raffle.
Oh yeah.
Which is gonna be pretty freaking sweet. So we're gonna have some actual animals in this one. We got one of the awesome custom tumbler things that Phil and I got made. A Benchmade cigar cutter, which is pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
And a BioG from BlackBox.
Yeah. So get in on that if you want a little taste of BlackBox.
I think we're planning to host that on the
goodies.
website instead of Facebook.
Yeah.
But that's mostly A, so Zuckerberg doesn't shut it down. And then B, then we can extend that to all the people that aren't in the Snakes and Stogies group on Facebook, so we can raise more money that way. We can, like, people on Instagram can hop in.
Where's the money going?
The ASF.
Nice.
Currently. The Asclepius Snakebite Foundation.
Nice.
Me and Phil are still, he was supposed to call me today, that bitch. And we're supposed to work out the details as far as like how many slots we want to do, what we want to set the price at, and sort of some of the other odds and ends, and then hopefully get it sort of up and running and going next week sometime. I'd like for it to be like new month, start it there, and
so it's a raffle, right?
Right.
Okay.
But we're gonna have a bunch of stuff. So I've got a list. I won't disclose all of it because some of it is still unconfirmed, but
there's
it'll
some
be
good
worth
stuff on there. I've heard little dirty deets.
Yes.
You guys are not going to be disappointed.
And if anybody is
Gotta buy a
interested in
bunch of-
donating anything, let me know. And we will add it. It doesn't have to necessarily be this raffle because it won't be it's not the first and it's not going to be the last. So,
dude, if you don't put like a framed like foot picture of your feet,
that's just a little weird.
You should do it now, dude.
I don't
it's
think so.
It's a running joke now at this point.
I don't.
You need to do it. Somebody will buy it.
That's horrible. So, blackboxcages.com. Check them out.
Yeah, back to that.
BioGs are awesome. If you've seen the YouTube video, that's what I got my rhino rats in and one of my chondros, and I freaking love them. The Barons is going to go in one at some point.
They're fantastic, like in between cage
size.
like that. They're too big for a rack, but they're not so big you need them in something like a 3 or 4 foot cage. You know, that BioG is just right on the money. It's perfect. It's awesome.
Yeah. And then Steve's Snaketuary and his Venom Hot Sauce. Check it out. Steve does a lot of educating of the public, rescues, rehabilitation, all kinds of awesome stuff. He's even got these cool like playing cards.
Yeah, which I thought those were really cool.
It's like a field guide almost, where like each animal has a card, but they're like color coded by if they're dangerous or not. And
he needs to do that.
It's really cool to just keep in a backpack or something.
Yeah, no, they're awesome, man.
So check those out.
I really like that idea. And then check out his Venom Hot Sauce. It's amazing. We've tried all of them. They're all good. Cottonmouth sauce is 2 of our personal favorites.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. You can put it on all types of goodies. Make you real happy.
Kick things up a notch.
Give a little kick in your life. It'd be great.
Metaphorical kick.
If you want to see somebody else try a video, check out Jeff and Kendra with Peach South.
Yeah, they've done like 2 of them.
They did a video. Yeah, they did 2 videos with Steve Sanctuary's Venom hot sauce. So check that
Might
out.
have to talk to him about some in the raffle.
Yeah. Oh,
you know, we've done like auctions for the whole like set in the past with Southeast Carpet Fest and stuff, and those got a lot of there was a lot of people bidding on them.
Yeah. Because they're great. It's perfect. You get hot sauce, and then when you're done, you get a nice little bottle with a cool picture of a snake on it. Who doesn't like stuff with snakes on it? We all do. Don't lie to yourself. We all like stuff with snakes on it.
Yeah.
So when you're done, you get a cool little piece to put up on your mantle.
Yes. So check out both. I always forget to mention it, but we do have a Patreon. Join it. Don't join it. We're happy either way. It exists.
It's there. That's all we're gonna say about it.
Not big on pushing the Patreon, but for those that are like, how can I help?
That's the best way
aside from just listening to us babble each week, less than $1 a month is the starting tier, and you can go up from there. So I think Phil and I have talked about somehow figuring out a way to include Patreons in the raffle to where they somehow, if they're at a certain tier, they get a entry automatically if you're a Patreon. But I have not confirmed that with him yet, so we are working on it. So just an idea we're kicking around. We're trying to find ways to help give the Patreon folks some little extra something. But we have yet to have any sort of formal conversation about that. So we're working on it. Phil has been stupid busy lately. Honestly, really haven't talked to him much outside of Mondays. So
he's working a lot.
I don't know what's going on. He's something. He's just always busy. But it's neither here nor there.
I feel that.
Because this is THP, number 159. And we are joined this week by Mr. TJay Chambers of Chambers Serpents.
How's it going,
guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, things are going good. How's everything with you guys?
Same old, same old. I just got moved into the snake room. Smitty's over here getting prelay sheds, all the goods.
Ooh.
All the goods.
Everything except eggs.
Yeah.
Right now, as it stands.
You're never going to get eggs.
I don't know if it's just me.
I'm just kidding, buddy.
Or if it's literally it seems like a longer wait, but it
always seems long, man.
We're going on a week and a half, coming up on 2 weeks after a prelay shed from this Ladies Island female corn, and I'm in the morning checking the box.
It's about checking the box. It's about 2 weeks.
It is, but it feels like it's been a month.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just just put the eggs in the damn basket.
Put the eggs in the box. Damn it.
Yeah.
2 weeks for corns is the
roundabout.
Okay,
cool. Week or 2 weeks. It kind of varies, I think.
Awesome.
So it's going to be one of those things where I have no eggs, and then all of a sudden, within the same week, I'm going to have 8 clutches.
All the eggs.
Right.
Yeah. So
not the worst problem to have.
Yeah,
it's not, but it's just that hurry up and wait period where you've paired stuff. They're holding.
Then you're going to go from no babies to all the babies.
It's one thing to have eggs in the incubator, but it's one thing when you bred them. Now you're waiting on them to be, become gravid. Then you get the prelay shed, or you're waiting for them to have that, and then they do, and then you're like, okay, the Dion's. I looked at the calendar this morning, I think, because she looks like she's about to freaking explode. And I think there's at least a week before she's going to drop. Probably more like 2, maybe 2.5. So I don't know. Thorn scrubs, I don't think went, but it's still early. I may pair them up again later.
Yeah.
Bimaculata, I can't really tell what's going on with her because she hasn't shed yet either, but she looks like she's holding. So it's just, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're in that stage of your breeding season where you're questioning everything, and then you'll be just scoring and scoring and scoring.
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
Yeah. I so far only I got the clutch of albino Darwins.
Nice.
They have a week more of incubation. So far things are looking good. But I'm expecting some pips hopefully next week.
Nice.
But we'll see. but I'm stoked on those. But other than that, I'm still getting locks from my. I'm going to say this with hard quotations. My Wamina scrubs. So I've got a 1.2 of those, and the male's locked with both. They're actually they're in these cages behind me.
I got you.
Those are that's a closet that yeah, it's nice to be a homeowner.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I just ripped everything out of that closet, and it's actually got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 cages, and then there's
wow.
And then there's tubs beneath where I just kind of store stuff. I was originally like I think they're like a 48 quart, somewhat arboreal tub. I was keeping Amazons in there for a while, but now I don't have the Amazons. I gave them to a friend, and so now I just store stuff in there. But there's also, right here is where the dividing section is. When I built this, there's actually a dividing door that I open up, and they can kind of have free range to go hang out with each other. And
Oh, we froze.
Frozen
in time. Let it go.
If you're a parent, you know the rest of that song.
I don't know the rest of that song. I'm not a parent though, so
TJ froze up.
we're waiting.
Please stand by.
TJ. Thought I heard him for a second.
Bark twice. Bark twice if you're in Milwaukee.
Bark. Oh.
Now he's
a little bit, a little grainy. You're popping in.
It's slowly coming back. It's working on it.
Shoot.
It's trying. There we go.
All right. Am I back?
It's coming back.
It's trying.
You guys just slowly keep kind of talking. Let me know when it's clear, and I'll just. I think you guys actually. No, you guys are clear on my end.
We're clear on your end.
I don't know. Streamer's been like really squirrely lately. Like the last week or so, I've noticed it's been having more issues than normal.
Should I try to back out and come back in? Or
no, I think you're good now.
Yeah, there you go. You just cleared out.
Okay. Hopefully that stays like that.
You were talking about you take out the dividers and let them do their thing.
Yeah. So basically, it's just like I made a little wooden door on a hinge that I open and I'll shut it. But the scrubs are pretty, or at least everything I have when it comes to food, they're crazy. Striking at so whenever I'm thawing out rodents, or if I am feeding anything in the room, I have to separate them. So I kind of pick and choose when I open that door depending on if I'm going to be feeding other things. But I just started getting locks after doing introductions since November, and the male just now started kind of kicking into gear. I'm seeing some swelling out of one of the females. The other female is still acting like she wants food. So I'm probably going to keep separating and feeding her. But yeah, kind of just trial and error with those guys. Getting closer than I was last year, but they really had a whole year to kind of settle in this cage. I got them at the beginning of 2020, and since then they came into me kind of in bad shape. So I had like a 3-month period of kind of getting them back on track. And then I started basically, that was about when I started building my collection at that point again. But so it took like 2 years for them to finally, I think, kick in and male start showing interest, because he really didn't care. They would hang out. They would hang out, and they're actually really communal, is what I found. Like they have 8 feet of cage by 5 feet high, and they will all three, the 2 females and the male, just hang out in the same spot. And it's not like they're competing for heat source or anything, because I do all ambient, so I heat the room, so the whole cage is pretty much the same temperature. So I don't see it as like competing for resources or anything like that. They just kind of seem communal.
Yeah, So what? I'm at the point now, just so you know,
So I know
that I like the whole "how'd you get into reptiles" thing. I'm like axing it. So instead, I'm gonna say, what were you keeping initially, and what made you transition into Morelia and Simalia? Because that's what you're mostly keeping now, right?
Yeah, I've got a couple oddball things. I've got a Cuban boa, which is one of the coolest snakes.
Nice.
Oh man, he's a psychopath, but really cool. There's a local guy who breeds a bunch of Caribbean boas. His name's Steve Woodward. Really low key guy, but if you guys have ever seen like Panda's Fauna posting Jamaican boas,
I want to get him on the show at some point too. That dude's a trip.
So he's got a bunch of stuff from Steve. I think he may have just got 4-dye, or maybe that was Dustin. Yeah. So there's a really low key guy here in Arizona that breeds Jamaican boas and Caribbean boas and 4-dye and all the weird Caribbean boa stuff. So I'm on a list for a female for my male, and then I'm trying to get some Jamaicans. But
yeah, I'm hoping to get some Jamaicans at some point this year too. We'll see.
I love them.
Not putting any eggs in a basket or anything like that, but.
Boy, when did that happen? When did you start thinking about Jamaican boas?
They're awesome.
When we had that article done for the magazine,
dude, I've been.
That's
wanting
when
Jamaican
I was like,
boas, man.
okay, those are pretty cool.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know that I necessarily want to breed them though. Like I feel like that might be one of those species where like if I just get one, I'm good. Just because I can enjoy it.
I'm kind of like that with the Cuban.
There's the whole sort of red tape and stuff of like you can't sell them and you got to have some sort of documentation and stuff. So it's like I may just not want to jump through all that and maybe just get one and enjoy it and just have it.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah,
it's perfectly okay.
But I kind of sidetracked. But yes, I primarily keep scrubs and so Simalia and Morelia. I guess what got me to this point, when I was younger, it started out with field herping, and I started with like just an assortment of whatever I could get, and my older sisters started dating this guy. I'll give him a shout out, Ryan Cook. He was kind of one of the first people that really pushed my interest in the hobby. But when I was in like 7th grade, my older sister's like, yo, you got to come to my boyfriend's house. He's got a snake room. And he had a white lip python there. And to this day, I've never been bit by a snake more than that snake bit me.
So here you go, kid, reach in there and grab him for me.
Yeah. It was, but I
time to prove your manhood.
Oh yeah, got worked every time. But I loved that snake, and it really kind of pushed my passion into that direction of like the obscure species. And so the first snake I went and bought myself was an Amazon boa when I was in like 8th grade, I think. So this is a long time ago, and I kind of kept random stuff, got into carpets. And when I was kind of building a collection maybe like 10 years ago, I was building all my own cages, and I would kind of build a new one, sell the old one on Craigslist. And this guy hit me up and was like, hey, would you trade that cage, which I was trying to sell for $200, for a scrub python? And I was like, I've never even heard of that. So I looked him up on King Snake. They're going like $300-400. I was like, that seems like a fair trade. Looks like a cool snake. I had no idea how big it was. This is when I was about 19 years old. So I go to this guy's house, and he had a 10 plus, probably more like 11-foot southern Merauke scrub in a 40-gallon breeder.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that thing was probably pretty pissed. It's not a happy animal.
It was, and I instantly just felt terrible for it. So I was like, put this thing in my car right now. And I brought a small box, like a
6-quart shoe box.
Oh yeah, cardboard.
Oh
and
god!
He didn't let me take the 40-gallon tank, and so this 10+ foot scrub. So its face was all messed up from striking. He was like, yeah, man, I'll like walk by and he'll just strike at the lid, and it's like a mesh top lid, and so his face was mangled. I just felt so bad for this snake, so I was like, let me get this thing home, and it busted out of the cardboard box in the car, which of course, yeah, I should have known. And so driving down the road, emergency pull over to the side of the road to jam the snake back into a box. But I got this snake home and I didn't really know much about them. Maybe an irresponsible move on my part, but I loved snakes, and I kept, at that point, I had like Brettles and I had lots of carpets and white-lit pythons. I kind of started
ballpark,
building weird stuff. And so at this point, I started researching scrubs, and I found Morelia python forums, and I fell in love with everything about the forums. I miss them so much. And I don't know if you guys were around for that period.
Yeah, I was a lurker on there. I didn't post a whole lot, but I definitely scanned it periodically. And
I never said, I just lurked really hard, but I learned a ton in that time. And I was mostly just trying to get a little bit of help on how to manage this snake while I was because he was huge, he was so mean, while I was like trying to get him back into good condition. And so I came across a guy that had tons of scrubs, and his name is Evan Armble. He goes by Dr. Arroyo on Instagram.
And sounds familiar. Yeah.
Field herper. He's one of that guy's an amazing photographer, an amazing person. I can't say enough good things about Evan. So Evan at the time bought a bunch of scrubs from like David Prada had gotten out of scrubs. David Means sold his collection, and Evan bought them. And Evan lived in southern Arizona, like right on the border of Mexico. And so he hit me up and was like, dude, come down here. I'll kind of show you my scrubs, give you a rundown, show you how I work with them. And we can also go look for some rattlesnakes. And I had no idea that I was like being taken under the wing of someone who was so knowledgeable, so smart, and just so kind. And I can't thank Evan enough. So I'm going to give Evan a huge shout out. Everyone should go follow Dr. Arroyo for the best photography photos. He's great. But
yeah, I'm fairly certain I follow him, and yeah, the photography is just insane.
And that guy knows so much. He's so smart, and he had like 20 to 30 scrubs at the time, and he had this scrub collection was no joke. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, or I know you guys are familiar with Stephen Cush, but he talks about a snake a lot of the time that has rain blood in it, and he's got a couple snakes in his collection that are offspring of an animal called Rain, and Rain was a VPI produced barneck that was like 15 feet, an absolute monster. When I saw that snake in person, to this day, he's the best looking barneck I've ever seen. And so I got to work with that animal and got to see him in person. And he had another scrub there, which was actually Rain's clutch mate. And her name is Ascadelia. And she was completely different looking than Rain. And it really made me, and they were captive born and bred. I don't know so they had them labeled as Jaya animals. I think that came out as a mistake and a mislabel at some point, because I don't know exactly what the real locality of those animals were, but they were clutch mates that were completely different looking. And so that really kind of opened my eyes to like, what, I don't think we have any idea on locality stuff. If these, like, they were completely different color, completely different pattern. One is like Rain was kind of what you would call like a Maniquari type, like heavy banding, but like really reduced and kind of a light. And then the clutch mate Ascadelia was like sarong, just like bold pattern, really dark. And she was, I think, 18 feet.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So I thought I loved snakes before I met Evan, But when I got to Evan's house for his apartment for the first time, he lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with the only 2 bedrooms had scrub pythons in them. And so I moved in and I brought all my snakes with me. And so we slept on the floor in the living room, and we went field herping every single day, and we found Willard eye and all that stuff. But that was a good time period, and really kind of secured my love for scrub pythons, getting to see, because he had Tannenbars, he had Moluccans, he had everything, not Halmaheras, but he just had all that stuff, Urus, and this was around 2012 to 2014 ish. But getting to go down there and see all those snakes and work with them, just really passion for scrubs. And Evan also bred like Brettles pythons, and so I really got firsthand experience getting to see a dude hatch out stuff and get things feeding, and see how someone with experience works with big constrictor snakes. And I've really tried to take that into, like, I use a lot of what he taught me with like the transfer tubs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so a long-winded way of saying that's really what got me into scrub pythons. The carpets, I can't even really say it, they've been like kind of a staple in what I've been keeping since I was a kid.
And they just kind of showed up one day.
They just showed up. And now, so after I lived with Evan for that time period, I kind of had an opportunity to get back into music, and I sold off my collection and did the music thing, and I played drums for a while. Got my bands to the point of touring, and we were doing that, and then COVID hit. And right before COVID, I even was kind of thinking like, man, now that I know, like, if we're gonna go on tour, it's gonna be just a couple weeks. Like, I could leave a snake at home for a couple weeks. That's not a big deal. And so I right at the end of 2019, I started looking to build again. And I didn't think I was going to get in as deep as I did, but you guys know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to get one. And then I got a big IJ carpet for my first one coming back in, a West Popwin carpet for the
good choice.
Yeah, I like those guys. And
long leaf approved.
Yeah, good. And so I thought it was a female, and I got it home, and it shed sperm plugs, and I probed it, and it was a male that's like gargantuan,
a monster male,
way too bigger than any female carpet I've got. And so he's basically a pet. He's the most laid back. My wife does a burlesque show, and I've even allowed her to have the performers use that snake on stage. So he's the one pet snake that probably is never going to get bred to anything. But so I bought that snake, and then I got a Craigslist scrub python for $200, and that was a Meraki. And then I got a female to go with him shortly after, and then I got my trio of Wamina, and that really that was the last scrub python purchase that was at the old prices, and then COVID hit.
before it all went to shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh damn it! Like, what did I do? I waited too long to get back into this. Like, I bought the trio of adults for $1,000.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so now
it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, right.
Ridiculous one.
I don't know that I would have turned that down.
Yeah,
either.
I was offered a. Granted, it was captive bred. I was offered a captive bred Southern for $1,200, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. See, the thing is, the pricing has gone crazy, and so as someone who loved them when they were really cheap and was buying them all I could, it's just like, oh man, it's really soul crushing, because I mean, I have 10 scrubs right now. I'm probably good. I don't think I need any more. I have the 3 Wamina I have so much issue with using that term. And then I don't even want to use Jaya anymore. Because for that locality, I've had some conversations with Nick Mutton about it. I don't know if he wants anything being said, but he's working on some reclassification within that genus. So
I'm sure it's a lot like chondros, where I'm sure there's a ton of cryptic diversity there that, if Daniel Natusch found all these differences in the chondros, I have very little doubt that it's a very similar scenario with a lot of the scrubs and stuff too.
Exactly. I mean, just if you look at the Wamina type scrub, I mean, you can tell that it's something different from everything else in that northern region it comes from. And they kind of like size wise, they stay a little on the smaller side. I know that anecdotally you can get a scrub massive, almost any scrub. You can get a Tannenbar to 12 feet if you wanted to. But there's just like, for them to still be called, not that I'm like huge on splitting and stuff, but the way I try to compare carpet python and scrub python stuff in a lot of ways, where it's like, if we are calling a Darwin carpet something different from a coastal, and we've got all these different things. Look at a Wamina scrub, and then look at a southern, and then look at a highland, and look at a barneck, and they're all amethystina. And I don't think that's just an instance of localities making them look different, because a lot of them share the same ranges. Like, though you'll probably find barnecks where you might find the Wamina type scrub. And so I wouldn't say that like those are different because of localities. It seems like they are somewhat of a different species. But that's
I wouldn't be
that's not my
surprised
call.
one bit if there was a handful of subspecies buried in there somewhere.
I think there's got to be. I mean, there's just a lot of differences you see, and then but then again, this Wamina type supposedly has a range that's 800 miles across the northern coast. And you can, within that whole 800 miles, you could pick those animals out from the barnecks and from whatever else you might find within that range. So there's definitely, kind of like with chondros, like the guys that kept chondros for a long time were like, look at like, this
we
is
already know
different
this.
than that. Yeah, we know. But then there's just kind of like the battle between, now what do you do, kind of thing. Is like, okay, so, and that's kind of, I guess, a weird spot with the scrubs, is when I was in it a long time ago, the guys that, so Yasser Mustafa from Spitfire, he's a guy I really looked up to in the MP days, because he was breeding scrubs, he was doing like the locality pure stuff, but he was also crossing stuff to see what like some of these pattern morphs would do.
Right.
And and it pissed so many people off.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, and so many people were mad about it and all this stuff. And the way that I look at it is like, at the end of the day, how many of the pure stuff, non-locality crosses that Spitfire produced, how many of them are still around? Like, people didn't take his stuff, his pure locality captive born and bred babies, and continue the lineage. So they talk about how like, you're going to ruin all this stuff with crossing and muddy the gene pool. It's like, not if else can breed those snakes.
Yeah.
And so we're still at a point where no one's getting like regular clutches. Seems like David Means was one of the guys for a while that could get a couple clutches a season, but he's back out of it again. Yeah. But
Ryan Young has some stuff.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if
Ryan Young can breed anything.
He's got the magic touch.
He got Timor eggs. If I ever got Bolin's pythons, I would send them to him.
And be like, if anyone can crack the code.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the one thing, like, what separates the whole in terms of crossing stuff, like with chondros, the saving grace is designers. You know, it's like, okay, we're hybridizing subspecies. It's like, yeah, we kind of knew that, and we don't care because they all look awesome anyways. We'll mix them into oblivion, and it doesn't matter because a gorgeous snake's going to come out the other end no matter what we do. With scrubs, it's a little different because you don't have that factor. You know, it's like,
well, you kind of do in a way of like, you don't get the sickness and you don't get the mosaic, but Spitfire produced some crosses of barnecks that were almost all black. Like Evan had one as an adult in the lower, probably, and so you'll see it a lot in babies and barnecks where they have like a really dark lower half, but it'll kind of lighten up as they get older and some banding might start showing through. This snake was black from like,
didn't Lawrence have something similar to that?
Lawrence Kensington.
I thought he had like a really dark one too, but
I think he may have. He's been super low key for the past little bit.
Yeah. I haven't seen much from him. I know he had. You might be thinking of his Beox though. He had Beox scrubs, and those are very dark,
just like their souls, because everything from that island is just
evil,
satanic.
Yeah, he's actually one of the only people that I've ever bred captive Beox scrub pythons.
Yeah, I think so.
I've never seen
any for sale.
You don't like. I don't know how. I don't know where he got his, but
all like
you get all the chondros.
80% of the chondros in the trade come from Beox, but it's like scrubs are just like, nope. You'll see like one pair every 10 years. That's what you get.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kush has a pair at least of Beox. And I want to say it's Chris Foley who's still part of the Amethystina project, because it was him and David Means, I think. Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure he posted not too long ago that he got a Beox just off Morph Market, priced as like a southern like Merauke type animal, and everyone slipped on it, but he's got the eye. He knew right away. He's like, oh, that's not normal. Let's get that shipped here.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise you. Could tell me that Des and Steven have a freaking chupacabra in their facility somewhere, and I'd probably believe it. You know,
exactly.
Like, yes, I'm sure they do. Like they've got all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, it's insane.
We've got a unicorn, we got a chupacabra, one of them skinwalkers hanging out in the back. I believe it.
Yep.
I think the future of scrubs is we're probably in a good point having someone like Steven being the guy with the biggest collection out there. Like, he's a long haul guy. He's dedicated, he's smart, he's a hardworking dude. If he can run a rodent facility, he's got a lot of work ethic, I'd say, and especially at the scale that he does. So I think that we might be at a point where the future is kind of starting to look bright for some of this stuff. We're starting to get clutches from Nick Mutton's had, I think, 2 or 3 clutches of the Wamina scrub, and same with Ryan Young. Is it Marcel Hawkins? The kid who bred Moluccans.
Castellepis, yep.
Hell yeah. So we're starting to get some more stuff out there. I think someone like Steven running the charge is gonna do big things. And I like his mindset too, because he does have the mindset of being okay with crossing stuff. Like, there's room for within the hobby. If everybody just does the same thing, like no one's being an individual. Like, I like open-mindedness with people, and I don't like people being super dogmatic about particular things. So if you're like super heavy on one side of the fence as like a purist or strictly crosses or whatever it may be, I kind of get a little bit of a red flag by that. And everything I've heard Stephen Kush say has been like, okay, cool, you've got a great outlook on this. And so I think that's good for the future of the hobby, having someone like him.
I mean, they've got the resources for it, that's for sure. I mean, they're in a prime position to be able to have a larger collection of those and be able to experiment with things and see what happens and do it. So I mean, if there's anybody that's in that prime spot, it's definitely him.
Yeah, for sure.
But what's the disconnect though in terms of like why is breeding so inconsistent? Like I'm not a scrub guy. I had my Tannenbaum for a little while. He's got one, so maybe you both know like what's not adding up. Like why are eggs such an infrequent thing?
To me, I think it's like any other species that's really successful in the hobby now in their early days. Ball pythons used to be a hard species to breed. Retics used to be a hard species to breed. I think with scrubs, what makes them particularly more difficult is the attitude, the size, and I think that a lot of people. So I might have a kind of a different mindset about. I don't really handle any of my scrubs. I try to think about snake intelligence in a way of like, I think the scrubs are smart. I think they're smart animals.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Too smart.
Yeah. So I think that carpet pythons are pretty smart too, but I don't think they're as smart as scrubs for sure.
Agree. Yeah,
no, absolutely not.
But I have carpet pythons. I have one pain in the ass right now that won't eat a rat. Won't eat. I can wash a rat, scent it with mice, and she just knows. You can.
Is it a Darwin or an IJ?
It's a caramel zebra jag head albino.
Head albino. There it is. Got Darwin in it. I knew it.
Everything. Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Carpet Neapolitan.
Don't say that. I've got 16 Darwins in the incubator right now that I'm gonna have to get feeding soon.
Don't put that evil on him.
Just get them on mice.
Yeah. So, I have a carpet that is a jag that's able to tell the difference between a mouse and a rat. And I know a lot of people that you can take a mouse and a rat the same size, show them, and they probably can't even tell you which is. So I think there's a little bit of intelligence in identifying something there. And I feel like if those carpet pythons are able to identify the difference between something so subtle, surely a scrub python can recognize a threat and probably recognize a person, probably, especially since so many of them are imports. To me, I imagine that scrubs are so wound up and they pee everywhere because a person grabbed them out of a tree and shoved them in a bag, and then a person pulled them out, and a person has a smell like, and I think they're able to identify a person, and maybe not individuals, but they're probably like, the last time this giant monkey
last time I smelled this
came near me, I got thrown in a bag, thrown in on 5 different planes, and now I'm in a box in America. And so to me, there's probably that intelligence that they have is something that causes them to have that attitude, that defensiveness, and then the musking and the peeing on you is probably, I would say, one of the downfalls of keeping a scrub. But I get away with that by not messing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even my small scrubs and racks, I use like these.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they stay in those pretty much all the time. Except for at night, they'll come out. But I can do a paper change.
Mm-hmm.
So I have these attached to the side of just a CB70 to where it's on the side. They can hide in it. They can even get on top. But I can put a piece of paper, clean the tub without having to touch them.
Oh, yeah. That's smart.
And think, because when I do have to have where it's like, I got to clean out your tube. I'm going to scrub the tub down, give it a full sanitation. When I pull them out, you see the crazy tail wagging. You see that, and I don't like that's putting your animal through stress. Like to me, that's to freak something out to the point of evacuating its bowels. like I can't imagine snakes in the wild are just like musking all the time.
Yeah.
Like I imagine,
or at least not without being grabbed by
Yeah,
something.
they're being attacked if they musk, like in the
that's
wild.
when they do it. Yeah, so I see it as a bad thing, and I don't want them to do that because I see it as like fuck. Or sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss.
No, you're fine.
I'm like, man, I just stressed you out by just trying to do some maintenance, and I freaked you out so much that you peed on the ground and you peed all over the side of your tub. Like, I don't like doing that. So to me, I look at them as like how you're supposed to respect the animal. Like,
if it's not into it, it's not into it.
It's not into it. And I've got some snakes that, again, probably don't love being held, but they definitely tolerate it a lot better than scrubs. And I think nowadays, scrubs became that kind of there's a certain mysticism to them with it almost became one of those things where it's like a flex to be able to hold a scrub and have it out and hanging out doing whatever. I think things like that, kind of like holding them into submission and kind of getting them to be like, oh my God, I just have to be okay with this.
Right.
Just kill me, man.
It's probably one of those things that's keeping scrubs from producing regularly, because
that would make sense.
They're wild. A lot of them are wild caught. If you have a captive born and bred animal, I would say that's a little different. Like, that thing wasn't plucked out of the wild, and I can't imagine the stress of from when they're grabbed in the wild to when they get here. It has got to be like 5 different plane rides, all these, like, dehydration like crazy, and so to take that animal and be like, now I'm gonna tame you, is for me, it's not how I want to do it. If you want to do that with your scrubs, that's totally fine. In my opinion, it might affect how often you're breeding it, or how often you get eggs. I don't know that for sure because I've never bred scrubs, but in my mind, the way I'm trying to approach it, I'm trying to stay really hands off to keep the stress level down. Because to me, that's the most important thing. I mean, Halmahera scrubs used to drop dead all the time for no reason. You kind of a weird roundabout thing. You mentioned Skinwalkers a second ago. Did you watch the new Skinwalker Ranch documentary?
I haven't. I've seen it like on the apps and stuff, but I haven't watched it yet.
I'm gonna tie this into snakes. So they had a cow on the property that just died, and they brought a vet in, and the vet cut it open, and it's like, looks like it's got pneumonia from stress, and it happened within like 3 or 4 days. Like the pathogens to create ammonia are in that snake already. And so when the snake's immunity level drops because of how, or in whatever, in the cow drops, that can take over really quickly. And I think that's what was happening with Halmahera scrubs, because now people seem to have them figured out. I think that as far as like bringing them in, they're not dropping dead like they used to.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think it's probably just stress. It was a lot to do with it. So I take a lot of that type of stuff to heart, of like, I feel kind of somewhat of a responsibility owning these snakes, because they are so rarely bred that it's one of those things where it's like, if I had Boelen's pythons, I would send them probably to someone who could actually do something to help the species. I kind of feel a little bit of a responsibility owning these scrubs to do well by them, not just bring more snakes in to die because no reason, because I wanted scrubs for a little bit. So I'm just trying to keep the stress level down. All my scrub cages that are breeding size, I have one over this way. So there's like a tube that connects 2 cages vertically on the inside. So when they're in their hides, whoop, whoop, open it up. They have access. I don't have to bring the snakes out. So for me, that that's just been like a huge thing. But I see a lot of people are doing that like tunnel access thing in cages now. And
I've thought about doing it with some of my stuff.
Yeah, I see Brandon Wheeler is doing it. I think he's another guy who's probably going to have good success with scrubs. Seems dedicated. He's been doing it for a long time. He already had one clutch, but he's also doing those things like trying to keep the stress down by creating the bridges between the cages. And I think doing little things like that in the long run is going to do big things for the species. So I think we're on an uphill.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I would say.
Oh, for sure. And there's a lot of parallels between, scrubs and chondros, and I guess it's really no surprise considering that they occupy the same areas. But like, I was always told or had heard that if you get like an import adult female, like don't plan on breeding her for at least like that first year she's in captivity, just because there is that time to adjust. And so I think there's a similarity there. Like the Gonyosoma that I have, that's another species where it's like they just don't like to be messed with. And so I leave them alone. Like I got a small clutch of eggs out of them. Eggs were no good, but regardless, like they are doing stuff. And so it is a step in the right direction. I don't ever see them. Like they're really cool snakes. I love them to death. I usually see a head for about 5 seconds and then they're gone.
Right.
But that's like one of those species where it's like, I'm not going to open the cage, pull stuff out, like check on them constantly. Like I'm going to let them do their thing. And I think that is a big key to the success with those is like, you just leave them alone. And then I think the big factor too is, especially with chondros or scrubs or even, Gonyosoma too, is like the younger you get them, the more successful you're going to be with them. Imported adults
that goes
don't
for
seem
imports.
to ever fully adjust, in my opinion. Like that male green tree that I have that I got as an adult, like he's never chilled out. He's going to be a prick his entire life. And like, I've accepted that. It is what it is, but it's any of the other imports I've gotten in, they were young, and as they've grown up, they've been completely fine. Like attitude wise, no issues. But I think it is when you bring in those adult animals, and especially if you're looking at like bigger scrubs, I think that it's never going to fully sort of adjust to captivity. Like
it's also different.
Come a long way, but
there's also the difference of it. Even if it's younger, there's also the difference of it being wild caught versus farm bred. If it was hatched on the farm in
tomato,
you're gonna have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I just think that's like with a lot of people that fail with Gonyosoma, like they get adults in that are fresh imports. They're stressed as hell. They're worm ridden. They try to do too much too soon as far as treatment and stuff, and they don't get them hydrated, give them time to just chill out and settle some before they start pumping chemicals into them to kill things. And it's just one of those things. It's like that's just a group that just requires you to put them in the dark and leave them be and keep the interaction minimal even after they've acclimated. Like just let them do their thing.
Yep.
Yeah. I subscribe to that method pretty hardly. So it's keep hands off. I mean, I handle snakes on cleaning days, primarily like the carpets. I'll pull them out because the carpets are they're fine.
Right.
But yeah, the scrubs, I got all the cages set up to where I can clean all their cages without taking them out, aside from maybe if I have one animal in particular back here, and they're a big female that if she's like out head facing me, like they don't hide. They just stay out on the shelf pretty much all the time. But I can kind of pick my battles. I'll open it, and if they're facing me, I'm gonna probably not try to reach in where their head's at my head height. But
that's a heat-seeking missile,
with the
boy.
Friggin' reach they've got.
No, sir.
Yeah. So
nowhere in that cage is safe.
Right.
I don't care how big it is. You go in that thing, it don't matter. It don't matter.
Yeah, and they have just like really good accuracy. I haven't been.
When they throw, they mean it.
Yeah,
like,
they don't mess around.
Like it's like I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna try really hard. If I don't, at some point you're gonna get got.
Yep. And I've been got by one scrub that was like 7 feet back in the day. It wasn't anything too crazy, but that was enough for me to be like, I gotta be much more careful with doing this stuff.
Dude, I had like a 4 foot animal. You know, a 4-foot scrub doesn't seem like a 4-foot scrub because they're so long and slender. So doesn't seem that big. That sucker reached out and got me on the fat of my thigh one time. Oh God, that was
Jake
that.
doesn't handle his scrub. His scrub handles him.
Yeah, no, because that's how I am with him. I don't mess with him, and he just does his thing, But he's a prick. He's terrible. But yeah, no, he grabbed me by the fat of my leg that one time, and that showed me they had a good bite.
I just had to look at pictures and know that it was a no for me.
Yeah, I think he's paused.
I think he is paused too. Whoop! I heard a noise.
I heard it.
He's coming back.
Coming again.
All right. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what the My back good.
Kinda. Coming back. There we go.
There we go.
All right. You were talking about how you got bit by that scrub. And it was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, and he wasn't big. Yeah, no, he just grabbed me by my inner thigh right there, and it was
on the inner thigh.
It was. I was walking by him because whenever I've actually started using lids, even for carpets that are nippy.
A riot shield.
Yeah, no, I use lids for shields, so I can just if I don't need to change their paper or anything, because I keep a lot of my carpets on paper. I'll just because they're always up on their perch and they're locked and loaded up on the perch, so I'll just stick a lid right in front of them, reach down, grab the water dish, change it out, and it's fun. Yeah. It works out perfectly. So I use the shield for the scrub because he's in a tub, and I'll use the lid to kind of block him. And I thought I was walking far enough away to dump out his old water because I took a kind of a wide loop, and that sucker just reached all the way out and nabbed me right on the inner thigh. And oh God,
lucky you didn't get your manhood.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. It was more towards my knee, so he had a little bit more to go. But
I have tattoos on the inner thigh, and that's a sensitive area.
Yeah.
No good.
Yeah, no, it was not fun. I had a bruise, legit, probably that big at the end of the day. It ended up bruising all around my leg. I was like, what the heck?
Damn.
It was nuts. He had a perfect jawline of where he bit me. You could see the top, all the little teeth marks all
that's
over.
Cool. Those are the good ones.
Oh yeah, those are the best.
But it does seem to me that they're at least within the last maybe 3 or 4 years that, I mean, we were kind of touching on it earlier, but it seemed like there was an influx of people getting scrubs. And that was sort of we were riding the wave up, and then we got to the top, and then all of a sudden you see a lot of people getting out of scrubs. And so it was I wonder if it's one of those things where they were kind of romanticized in a way to be something that they're not, and people were like, man, those are really cool, I'm gonna get one. And then they get one and they're like, this thing sucks, and then they're like, I gotta get out of them. And so it's am I right in thinking that was kind of the case with them?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that people have an idea of what it's like to have a scrub, and don't really realize until they get one. And typically they don't just get one, they get a few. And they build up a little collection before they really realize maybe this isn't totally for me. Because I mean, if they're not for you, that's fine. I get it, they are not for everyone. But I think that there's kind of that thing of people wanted to maybe crack the code too. There was that mysticism of I can be the one to figure it out. And then maybe they just don't like the species, so they don't care to figure it out, or they couldn't figure it out, whatever it may be. But scrubs definitely switch hands a lot. There's animals out there. Stephen Cush owns an animal that's 20 years old, I think, produced by the Barkers. And I mean, that animal has probably been in 15 different places, I imagine, in 20 years, but still kicking. So I mean, they can really thrive and do great and live a long time if you do it right. But no one really seems to be into them for. I mean, even David Means is a guy that's come in and out a couple times with them, but he also came in and got 80 to 100 scrubs, and then that kind of can get a little much. But I think we just need a couple people to stick in it long enough to kind of push it to that next level to where we can take the pressure off importing, and then those prices can kind of figure themselves out. But at this rate, I don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah, who knows when that's going to happen?
Yeah, because I mean, if it's going to follow the green tree python thing, then maybe going forwards, imports will still be $800 for import scrub, and then the captive born breds will be. I mean, we saw the Moluccans, those class Olympus that came out. I saw them going, or I don't know if they sold for the 7,500 per animal, or I think it was per, or maybe it was pair.
Like captive bred?
Yeah, Marcel Hawkins. But I mean, they moved. It seems like he moved all the ones he wanted to. But if that's going to be the theme for a while, then it really might affect who gets into it. Might really cherry pick particular people. But I don't know. I think that to me, they were just the outcast snake. Like, I'm always kind of the kind of guy who wants to. I mean, growing up, I mean, I've played drums in metal bands since I was a kid. Like, I just always wanted to be a little different. To me, scrub pythons are kind of like the metalhead snake.
Oh, they absolutely are.
Yeah, and so, yeah, and so I was just really drawn to that, and that dragon head that they've got is just, for me, they tick all the boxes on what I like in a snake. But I totally see why a lot of people maybe get into them and then get out.
I mean, they do have like a regalness to them. Like, even Jake's, his isn't massive, but it's still like seeing that thing just come out of the tub and like square up, and is like no fear, but completely dialed into what's going on. And it's just an impressive, like, they're impressive animals, and especially big ones. It's like that's a snake that means business. Man.
They can be very they can be very intimidating. Like, I think that's a thing with people is, they have this dream about scrubs, and they get a big import or something like that, and like that's an intimidating snake. Like, a big imported scrub, like, that thing could F your world, dude. Like,
they're quick. Like, that's the weird thing that separates them from like berms and retics and some of the other stuff. Like, that tannenbar I had, I was not expecting that thing to move as quickly as it did.
I told you, dude. I told you when you got that thing, I was like, dude, you watch it.
Those ones are evil. Tannenbars are the worst.
This guy was he was okay. If I left him be, he'd be okay. But if I came into the cage to do anything, it wasn't even necessarily he'd start like striking at me or anything. Like, he'd just take like spaz out and start doing laps around the cage and
flighty.
I don't know. I was very surprised at how quick they were. I was not expecting that. No.
Yeah, I've got some that are really flighty, and so that's kind of like a whole, because they try to, when I'm trying to put them back in the rack, they'll try to go up above the next level and take off and quick, and they'll grab onto anything. They're like Velcro, and they can get
oh my god,
they'll get a death grip onto something, and then you're having to watch the head while you're untying their huge tail, like off of a tiny little piece of, they can grab onto the side of a tub, no problem. And then you can't shut the tub, and you got the head coming back out at you.
Exactly. I was gonna say, they grab something, then they square up, like, all right, I dare you to touch my tail, like
cleaning day for that tannenbar, dude. It was exhausting, because it was like, okay, it's gonna take me like 2 minutes to get you out. That's no big deal. And I'll get you into like a holding tub or something while I do it
in about 5 minutes.
And then when it was time to put him back in, that was like a 20-minute process. It was like,
right,
God, just because he'd grab onto stuff and he'd just anchor himself to it, and getting him off was a real pain. And then he'd spaz out and move to something else and grab onto that. And I was like, this is gross.
see now get 10 of those and have a really bad cleaning day, and you can see why someone might get out of scrubs.
No, they're definitely.
I did. I was fully intending on eventually finding a female for that one, but
where'd you get that one?
That one came from Phil. That was like a wedding present.
Was it an import?
It had to be. Yeah.
I can't remember where Phil got it.
I don't remember
who
either,
he
but it's
got it
with
from.
Dr. Wyman now.
Yeah.
Very few people, I feel like. Nick Mutton was breeding them for a while.
Yeah, they just disappeared. That was
Yeah,
one that used to come in and was super cheap, according to talking to Harlan Wall. He's like, dude, we used to get those in all the time. They were like a dime a dozen, and then one day it was like someone just turned the faucet off. Like no one wanted them, no one cared, and they just disappeared.
Yeah. And they came in crazy too with like the Xanthic patternless ones. Yep. And I don't know, I always thought those ones looked cool. And then they have like the just patternless bright gold ones. I saw a couple of those going around, but they were killer looking and they stay at a manageable size. So I feel like, I don't know, Nick Mutton said that the babies were always psycho, but if you could eventually get maybe F3, F4s, you'd probably start calming down a little. But who knows?
It was a good appetizer into what scrubs would be like for me, and that's when I was like, yeah, I'm good. Jake can keep these, especially when they're 3 times this size.
I don't have
no thanks.
I don't have much of a desire to keep any more like the big scrubs. I may at some point I may end up moving my Southern, but I would like some smaller ones, just like and that's only because I know me and I see how he is now. I can't really imagine him at 10 foot, because that's a lot of snake, So I would consider Tannenbars or Waminas being on the semi smaller side, especially Tannenbars.
It was enough for me. I became disenchanted with them very quickly. It's like I'll just stick to chondros, man. Like at least they hate me, but they hate me from the same place on their stick.
Yeah, that's true. I'm hoping that maybe a lot of the people that got into scrubs recently realize they don't like them and start selling them, because man, they are hard to come across right now. It's so few and far between. Even though I'm probably good on scrubs, I have males and females for everything that I've got. I've got a pair of sarong, like subadult, adult. The male's an adult. The female is probably big enough to breed. She's like 8 feet. And then I've got the pair of Southern Meraki's, which are, I would guess they're about 2 or 3 years old, not 3 years old. And then I've got 3 Highland types that don't know. The Highland thing is really kind of another big
there's a
confusing
lot of debate in those with Southerns and all this stuff. And
Highland is kind of a misleading term in general, because it's like the mountain range runs through the middle of the whole thing. Like Highland implies that they're like high,
right?
And once you're over that mountain range, you're kind of not, but not, at least from what I've seen and read. So I don't know.
Right. So the future of breeding those animals, I don't exactly know what I'm going to do, because they're all patternless. They're all bright gold, but they're all different. I can tell they're all something different. And so I think one of them looks more like a hypo patternless, like just Southern, like what you call like a Meraki. But then there's 2 that have different shaped heads. The existing really faint pattern is totally different than a Meraki. Looks more of like not quite oxabillish. I feel like those have a little bit of like wild fish netting. It's not quite, it's
that's
not
my
quite
favorite out of the scrubs. Those oxabills are freaking cool.
They're awesome. So I'm not sure if she's one of those. They have another year or so of growing to do before I need to think about pairing them up. So maybe Nick Mutton will come out with the paper or whatever he said he's working on. I don't know. He didn't give a time frame. He just said that they've been working on reclassification or reclassifying the genus. So maybe that will determine what I do. I don't have a huge issue with crossing stuff. Of course, I'm not going to throw any of my Barnecks in with my Southerns or Waminas until I get a clutch of Barnecks.
Right.
So I'm going to try to stick to the locality stuff first, because I have pairs for everything. It's not like, well, I don't have a female for this, might as well just throw this one in there. So I'm gonna try to stick with that. But there was someone, I think his name's Jim Weatherall. He keeps chondros. He had some weird crossed scrubs back in the day that were so wild looking that it really made me. It almost is like kind of how you're talking about designer stuff with green trees. He was, I feel like, on the start of something with a few animals that he had of like a cool morph scrub project. Not that I think that's like I don't think that's needed, but it's definitely something that's cool. Because regardless of if morphs come into scrubs all the time. Like whether you want to we don't know if they're polygenic, we don't know if the stripes or the patternless, we don't know what those are, and so there's a lot of naturally occurring morphs within scrubs. That kind of makes me look at the morph thing like they're not just broken genes, like what a lot of people refer to morphs as, because how many exanthic clastolepis have you seen come out of the wild? I mean, there's so many exanthic Moluccans out there, and Marcel, I mean, half of his clutch were exanthics.
Yeah.
And so,
well, Tannenbars too. You have the 3 different varieties of those.
If anything, in Tannenbars, the exanthics are more common. I think I've seen more exanthic tans than anything else.
So back in the Morelia Python forum days, there was, I don't know if there was much validity to this, but there was a theory about the exanthic patternless Tannenbars. On the reason why we started seeing so many is because they started basically building roads through the area where you were finding them, gravel roads and whatnot, cutting down the trees where the exanthic patternless really blends into the road and blends into all the stuff that like the society that's growing around them, with like all the architecture and stuff they're putting, building cities. It made it so the exanthic patternless animal was basically more camouflaged. Yeah. And so all the pattern gold ones on the road get picked up no problem by a bird or prey or whatever it may be, that they very quickly, the morph kind of saved some of those animals to where like morphs occurring naturally kind of can have some benefit. And they're not, I don't know. I think that there's just a lot of talk in the hobby about there's the huge dividing wall between purists and morph makers.
I think it's shrinking.
You think so?
I think it's getting a little smaller. I mean, I remember it being, at least in carpets, not that long ago, within the last, I don't know, 7 years or so. It seems like it's not as big of a conversation as it used to be, where people are kind of like one or the other. I don't know, just from an outside looking in kind of view, but
right.
I'm a chondro guy. What do I know?
Nothing.
That is the most frustrating part of it all, though, is like there haven't been enough people that have gone over there, at least Americans, gone over there, like really spent time there, looked at things, went to these different areas, like the different islands, and seen these things like firsthand with some sort of decent evidence as to what's happening. Like and that's for anything with Papua,
right?
Like there's so many unanswered questions, I think, that are a lot of things that we take as fact that need validation of some sort. And that's why I think we all rely on like Daniel Natusch so much for that kind of stuff, because he spent more time over there than almost anybody,
Yeah.
And Ari, he's spent a ton of time over there too. And so it's like we really only have to go off of what they saw, in their time there.
Right.
So that's my thing is, we talk about all the different localities and chondros, and it's how different are they really? Like, what's being looked at? It's almost going back to like damn near like colonial days where someone would come to the Americas and then they'd sail back and they'd tell everyone about what it was like. And it's like no one's ever actually going to go over there, but we only have what was brought back story-wise.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a new frontier.
Supposedly Daniel Natusch did a lot of work with Scrubs and has a ton of locality information on Scrubs. He's posted little teasers of where he's like tested people, like take a guess where these Scrubs are from. And so it's like he knows. He's got some of that info that everyone's really interested in. I have a feeling he's probably partnered up with some of the guys that are currently working on the I have a feeling that there's a reason we haven't heard about any of Natusch's Scrub stuff. I think it's because it's still kind of in the works.
Yeah. I mean, if it's anything like the Chondro study, like he got his hands on a ton of animals for that. So
it's like over 1,000, right?
Yeah, I have no doubt that he's he's not gonna half-ass it with the Scrubs either.
Right. But that's the genus that really needs it. But we'll see if any. I mean, it's not like us knowing that information is going to make anyone breed them better. Like we still got to figure out how to breed them.
Yep. Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, how big are your Waminas? Like your trio that are paired up?
So they're all around, I would say 7. The male is probably like a lean 7 feet. I've got one female that's a little more melanistic looking, kind of high black, that's a little bit bigger than him. And then I've got a female that to me, I'm pretty sure she's younger, but she's the biggest. So she was about the same size, but she had a smaller head than the other ones when I got them 2 years ago. But now I think she's 9 feet.
Okay.
Nice. And I primarily just cycle feed. I feed stuff hard in the spring and the fall, and then like not at all in the summer and winter. And so she, just in the 2 cycle periods that I fed her last year, she put on quite a bit of size, but she's not the one that's progressing as far as like the other one. The slightly smaller one is building follicles more than the one is the bigger girl. So I'm just hoping to get either of them to go, but we'll see.
Are you changing up as far as diet goes? Are you offering them sort of a rotation of things? Are you keeping it fairly the same, something leaner, something fatter?
So breeding all my own rodents, we breed mice, ASFs, and rats. I feed everyone a good mix of all those. And I've even fed those big Scrubs mice before, just like thawing out a huge thing of rodents, had it some left over, like, screw it, let's see if they'll take it. And it's funny watching them eat something they can't constrict.
Right.
Like the mouse is
watching an adult corn eat a pinky or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that.
Just gotta
it's
eat
almost
it alive.
Scary that they're gonna get impaled by the tongs, like
right. Yeah. But so I was feeding chicks when I first got them, but it's just because that was before my rodent colony had really taken off, and there's a local guy selling chicks pretty cheap. But yeah, I pretty much just feed rodents. With most of my carpets, I try to get them off of mice as soon as possible, because I did have a couple that got stuck that really took some convincing to get them switched. But the Scrubs, that doesn't seem to affect them. They'll eat anything at any time. They're good to go.
Nice. The only way I've gotten,
they've never struck me as picky.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, Scrubs definitely not. Carpets, I've definitely had a few carpets that were strict mousers, and it's a pain in the ass. The way I got my last one switched, I have a male. He's tiny, but he's the father to both my
designated
both
hitter.
Yeah, man, dude, he's great, man. He's a fantastic breeder. He's so small. He's so freaking small, but he's great. But he was a mouser for a long time. And so what I did is I gave him kind of an extra, because I don't feed at all during the winter. And so I gave him kind of an extra long time without food after breeding. So he bred, and we got a clutch and waited a little bit longer to offer him food. And the first thing I offered him was a small rat, and I knew he was hungry, so I just stuck it right in front of his face, and he just went at it because it was hot and he wanted food,
Right.
and he just decided to eat it because it was the first thing I offered him. And that was the plan, like, because I wanted to get him on rats, or at least to where he would eat them. Now he'll eat either one, but I wanted to get where he would eat both. Yeah, no, it was the first thing I offered him after a long winter of no eating. He was hungry, and goddamn it, he ate it. So
yeah, I keep making the mistake of like bringing mice into the room and still giving them, because I when I leave the rodent building, sometimes I'll just take a couple bins of rodents, whatever. Like if we had some extra mice, I'll take some mice home. And so I did make the mistake of maybe when I was making some progress, feeding her another mouse, and then probably losing a little bit of ground on that. But I'm not in a huge rush to get her grown up. If she eats mice forever, I breed mice, so I'll just bring mice home all the time. But there's a substantial growth rate difference between her and every other carpet that I've got.
yeah, I have found feeding like double of like the biggest mice you can, doubling up on them. It does make a difference. I had a female IJ that just was a strict mouser. There was nothing I could do to get her switched. But I just started doubling her up on my jumbo mice, and man, she got beefy. She got real big. So
yeah, they can. So I have a friend named Vito Giannini. He's mandatory Morelia. I don't know if you guys are. He's super low key. He used to breed chondros, but now he's or for the past several years he's been kind of a top of the line carpet morph maker here in Arizona. He's got like hypo. He produced most of the carpets that I have came from him. He's a gamma guy. He's got a bunch. He's probably got 7 gamma females. But getting to know Vito and seeing his collection, it really opened my eyes how small some of these females can be to go. And I think you have an idea in your head of like how big a carpet python is. But I bought a couple proven animals from him, and when he brought me one of the females, I was just like, no way. Like,
this is proven.
he's like, yeah, 4 years ago, proven.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you serious? But yeah, they can be really small. So like a mouse or a carpet, I don't think is, in this day and age with the knowledge we have, like we don't think that everything has to be giant to breed anymore. So
yeah, I don't worry about getting carpet switched over for me, because it's like if they switch, they switch. Rats are fatty anyways. I don't want them to feed. I don't want to feed them only rats. Anyway. So if they'll take both, great. If they want mice, screw it. I'll feed them mice.
right.
Especially the IJs. Some of your bigger stuff like Brettles, I wouldn't really want to mouse or Brettles like at all. But an IJ, don't worry about it. Like I've got a male. He's 8 years old. He's maybe 4 foot, and that's pushing it. Like you can see a lump from an adult mouse on this thing. He'll eat a medium rat, but a medium rat is big.
Gotcha.
And so he only gets that. He'll get one, but it's a good sized meal for him. But he doesn't grow. I got him on the rats. He started slamming mediums, and he still hasn't grown.
Yeah, some snakes. I mean, I think each snakes are individuals, where it's like some snakes that just want to eat and want to grow and grow and grow, and they'll grow like crazy, and other snakes, they just don't seem like they have it in them, like genetically. It's just not what they.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I think genetics play a huge role in it, because I have the female that gave me my first clutch. She's not with me anymore, unfortunately. But the female that produced my first clutch, she was probably 4.5 foot. Like
Damn.
maybe a skinny 5.
Yeah,
you
that was
know,
not a big snake.
She was not big at all.
'Cause I
But
remember.
she,
Well,
but
I
she gave me a
remember
clutch
when you
of,
got that clutch because
Yeah.
I remember seeing the eggs and seeing her and being like, "There's no way those came out
Yeah.
of that."
Yeah, no, she was small. Like she was like, and I mean skinny 5 foot. You know, like real skinny 5 foot. But she gave me a perfect clutch of
8.
8. Yeah, it was 8.
Nice.
So, and all of them went full term. Had a great clutch of babies, all healthy, and you know, I still have a female from her. Luckily, very glad. First snake I ever produced because she was the first one out of the egg, so I made sure to keep her because she was the first snake I ever hatched.
Nice.
Yeah, no, but then I have females that are, you know, she
You
was
got that monster, right?
Yeah, I have 2 that are massive. I mean, 6.5 foot. You know, they're huge. They're as big around as my forearm. You know, but they're the same. They were the same age. You know, there's maybe there was a 2-year difference in one, but no matter, it didn't matter. You know, they were at that age, at 8 and 10 years old. It doesn't. There wouldn't be a size difference. You know, that's
Exactly.
just all genetics. They were eating the same food. You know, it's just all genetics into play. You know, with the IJs, they're so variable. You know, you can have some that are just absolute diesels. I've seen diesel males that are 5, 6 foot. You know,
I've got one.
Oh yeah, you've got one. Yeah, exactly. You know, like it's
He's
just
huge, absurdly big.
Yeah, no,
I
it's.
feel like my chondros are frozen in time then because it seems like mine aren't growing at all. Like they're like I put food in them and they just stay the same size.
Yep.
How often do you feed, or do you cycle feed, or?
I don't cycle feed. I feed them like pretty much with green trees, unless it's, you know, a younger one or one in particular that I think should probably eat a little more so I can put some more size on it. I usually, if I can't remember the last time I fed them, then they're due. So I don't feed often. But I do kind of change it up, and I give them frog legs and I give them mice, and we've talked about getting ASFs and stuff. I don't know. We have to figure out how to source those. Casey Cannon needs to hook it up.
They are it. So my mice are not as enjoyable to breed as rats. Rats are definitely the best, but ASFs are way worse than mice.
Why does everyone say that?
Dude, some
people love them, man. Some people are like ASFs, man. They're great. They're awesome.
They're evil. Like they'll charge you. They'll charge from the back and they'll jump at you, and
screw that.
So they're a little more finicky. I like breeding the rats. They're so hardy. They're good. They're good moms. All of our rats are so friendly. I've never been bitten by a rat, but every time I clean ASFs, gonna get bit, or mice too. Little baby hopper mice will bite and just hold on. You can be pulling on their tail, like, yo, come on. But ASFs, yeah, I don't enjoy breeding them, but I've got a guy that helps us out at the building that has a big ball python collection, so we have a rack of ASFs just for him. So,
but how do those compare in terms of like reproduction? Because that was kind of the thing. So we breed our own, but we're at a point now where we're trying to get numbers up so that we can get like exponentially ramp up production so that he doesn't have to buy frozen anymore. Like I don't have to like really pick and choose when and who I'm feeding, so that I'm not cutting into the numbers and stuff like that. But we've talked about getting, like we've thought about quail, we've thought about ASFs, and just something that we can that produces quickly, that we don't have to worry about, which we don't really worry about the mice killing each other right now. It happens on occasion, but not that often. I think we're fairly lucky. But something in the meantime, while we're trying to build up the mice colony, that produces sort of quickly and that we can really use. And I know ASFs, from what I've been told by people that are breeding them, they're they're really good moms. They seem to produce a lot and often.
Yeah, they have big litters. I'd say you breed them pretty similar to how you'd breed and keep the mice. So I think the two, they also like it a little warmer. So we, in our building, like even the ASFs on the top of the rack do best compared to the ones in the same rack a few levels down. So they like it just a smidge warmer. But yeah, we breed them the same way we breed mice, where depending on the size of the tub, we'll do anything from like a 1.3 to a 1.10. And then with rats, we do maternity style, where we run one male and like 10 to 12 females in CB70s. Every 21 days, pull pregnants and load them into maternity individual tubs. Make sure they're having a good litter and they're good moms. So you keep them in the colony. You can cull out your bad moms that way.
Okay. Yeah, because P and Cody do that too with their rats, and I've always wondered what the benefit was of pulling and housing, pair like 2 females or single females per tub until they drop. It seemed like a lot of extra work.
It is extra work, but it's a lot more reliable as opposed to having 10 female rats in a bin and just going and being like, which one of you had babies? Because there's only 3 babies here. So you're a bad mom eating.
Okay. Yeah. So you're sort of
it's
selectively
kind of
breeding in a sense.
Yeah, breeding for, and also it's a good way to know, like, okay, this mom's probably getting old because she was dropping big litters. Now she only had 3 to 6 babies. We try to only have if the moms have more than 8 is kind of our thing. 8 and up is a good mom. But you can't really do that with the mice because they are temperamental and they will cannibalize, and swapping them and moving them around messes with them a little bit.
It does.
Yeah, and so with the mice, it's kind of like set them and let them roll. If they're gonna kill, if they're gonna kill each other, the adults will probably do it pretty early, like that among that introduction. And then if I found that cannibalism with the mice was kind of like a genetic thing, whereas like if one bin started cannibalizing, their babies would probably be cannibals too. And so if we saw one mom start cannibalizing, that whole tub would just get cold off.
Yeah.
And we but we haven't ran into any of that with mice in about a year. And
yeah,
so
it's a pretty rare occurrence for us too. And it's, I think most of the time when we do see it, it's because I think we've mentioned it in previous episodes. It's a water issue, like our water line got clogged or something, or something stupid to where they were so thirsty that I guess they whichever one of the unlucky individuals in the group was the one that got to be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, and
they start going to the inside of his mouth. They start licking the inside of another one's mouth or something for the saliva. And then before too long, that one gets taken down.
Yeah. But I mean, other than that, we really, like, as far as females eating babies and stuff, like, that hasn't been an issue historically. So, it's not a common occurrence. Like, I get it. It's very rare now, at least in our group. But yeah, it's like, as far as like the groups and stuff go, we have these 2 grow out bins, and so once they're off the mom and they have a little bit of size on them, we'll separate them into 1 or 2 of the bins, depending on how many we have, and mix them up a bit, grow them out, and then once they're adult size, they go into one of the bins with 2 to 3 females per male, and that kind of just mixes things up a little bit genetically and sort of keeps things interesting, because it is one of those things where once you have a group sort of together, you don't really want to change it up much, because in my experience, it hasn't worked out very well for whichever one's new to the gang.
Same.
So once they're in group, I try to keep them that way, but I mix them up when they're young so that they're not all the same from the same litters going in together. There is some sort of variation there, and that seems to work out really well when you put a good amount of them together when they're young. Then there's sort of the territorialness and the competition factor seems to sort of dissipate. And then they're all growing up together, and so I find that if you mix them when they're young, you don't have any issues, as opposed to throwing in something new when they're adults, then it's just problems.
Then if you got that one that's running around being a little asshole to all the other ones, and you can just
exactly
take that little guy out.
Yeah, sometimes there's unfortunately, like, if I have a male that's bullying another male or something, I usually end up calling the bully, not the bullier. So unfortunately, that's usually the one that's beaten up, and so I'm just like, dude, you gotta go. Sorry.
Right, you weren't tough enough.
Yeah.
Well, that and they got they're wounded. They got they've got like almost look like mange because they're getting scratched up so much by the other male, and the other male won't leave them alone. And I'm like, eventually you're just gonna die, man. It's like we're just gonna make this quick. So
yeah.
What kind of food are you guys feeding?
So we were feeding FRM rodent pellet.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the local feed and seed that we were getting it from stopped carrying it, and we've since switched to. It's a brand of dog food that I get at Walmart. It's called Pure Balance. It's the salmon blend, and I'm really weird about feeding dog food to mice. So when we ended up switching over to that, I read the label on pretty much every bag in Walmart to see which one was the best, which had the less of the meals and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And that Pure Balance for the price, I think it's like $16 for the 11-pound bag of the salmon blend.
Okay.
That seemed to be the most legit out of all of them. And we've been doing that now for a couple months, and I haven't had any issues with it really. Like everyone's seemed to switch over to it pretty well. But
they also get a buttload of Cheerios.
Yeah, honey, like not Honey Nut Cheerios, but regular Cheerios. They get some sort of grass or Timothy hay, depending on what's available at the time.
Nice.
Every now and then, if I have extra like sweet potatoes or something, I'll cut those up and give it to them. Sometimes we get like a birdseed blend. So we try to mix it up a lot so that they're not just eating one thing. And we try to make sure that, as far as like the dog food goes, like I don't want that to be the main thing they're eating constantly. Like I give them a little bit of everything. That way they're not all just eating the dog food, and change it up periodically and try to just give them a little bit of variety. So the nutrition factor is kind of a big deal for me in terms of my mice. So
what do you feed yours?
Yeah, what are y'all doing with yours?
So our primary foods are Missouri 6F and then a Cruise's Perfection rat and mouse food. It's we didn't want to do just one type of food, especially with like the Missouri. The issue is there's like one supplier in Arizona, and so it's expensive, but also it's like we don't want to be in that position of kind of like with your dogs, where if you're feeding a dog food and you switch over to a different food, their digestive system's a little bit like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so we don't want to have a scenario where we run out of Missouri and we have to hard switch them to another food. So we do a mix of Cruise and Missouri. That way we have both those bases covered. If we lose one of them for whatever reason, they've already been eating the other food and they'll just switch primarily to that. And then we feed a lot of like cockatiel seed and black oil sunflower seed and like rolled oats. I mix all those in a huge bin, and then I go with the big scooper, and I do that because specifically with the young, like the pups and stuff, when they're in the and like the weans, when they finally start being able to eat their own food, they're not quite able to reach the top of the rack very easily. So I like to put all the seeds and stuff on the every bedding change. We put a bunch of those seeds on the ground. That way all the small stuff gets as much food as they need, all the little ones, because the moms, they'll go and they'll munch on it too. But as soon as you put all those seeds in, all the like the weans and the small stuff just starting to eat their own food, they all rush over to it and they'll start going to town on it. So we do that to make sure that all the young stuff is getting a nice nutrient rich diet, and they grow quickly because we have a lot of rodents to move and we don't want to be like nursing along slow growers for a long time, taking up tons of space. So we have to basically move all of our males for sale at least like once a week right now. Otherwise we'll get overrun pretty quick. And we're in a 5,000 square foot building, but we're waiting on our rack order to come in. And so we've got about 2,500 square feet filled, but we have 2,500 square feet that needs to be filled, but we're waiting from all of our racks from ARS. So we've got like 15 or so coming.
Nice.
Yeah. So I tried to find the ingredients for what we use, and it's not available on the Walmart website. But it is a no grain. It's a grain-free formula. So no corn, no wheat, no soy, no grains, fillers, chicken byproducts, artificial preservatives, artificial flavors, or colors. And it has like added vitamins and stuff to it too. And like I said, so far we haven't had any issues. Like my dad, when he bred mice way back when for the stuff he was keeping, he would just get like Old Roy or something, and you would get just these big fatty knots on the adults after a certain period of time. And that's why I've always kind of been weird about dog food for mice. But this stuff seems to be pretty legit, and this is the salmon blend. So
yeah, that's good. A lot of people out here feed doggy bag, which comes from Tractor Supply. I don't know if they have Tractor Supply where you guys live.
It's awesome. We go there all the time.
Yeah, so a lot of people out here feed doggy bag, and based on what we have found, that same thing happens. You get like a couple, like you get a generation or two in, and you start getting those fatty tumor, whatever abscesses, whatever they might be. So we just try to steer clear of anything that might do that. Trying to stay, because ultimately, like everyone running this rodent facility are hardcore snake people. And so we're just trying to produce the best possible rodents for us, even though we are a commercial facility, or we're building into a commercial facility. Like the health of rats is paramount, because that's the health of the snakes. And so we all have expensive snake collections. We don't want to be cheaping out on the food. And so the Missouri's expensive, but so far it's the least problematic, and especially doing it on this big of a scale. If we, like all the other guys around here feeding doggy bag, if our whole colony ends up with tumors, we're kind of screwed. And so but Missouri, and I mean everything is getting crazy expensive right now. The price of bedding is high, but rodents in the pet shops are going way up in price. Like I don't know what they are locally where you guys are, but we have a big reason why we got into breeding rodents is like we had pet shops limiting people one live rodent per customer.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Could you imagine having 50 snakes going to the pet store and they'd be like, we have no frozen, but we have live, but you can only get one. And it's like, it's several shops out here we're doing that. And but it's hard to breed rodents out here. It's hard to breed rodents, I mean, anywhere, but in Arizona, it's hot, and cooling a building is hard to do when you have all the dust from the rodents. And so we had to go crazy with our AC units, state of the art, everything. And getting crafty on where we put the intake vents and stuff to make sure they're not sucking up too much of the dust from the rodent rooms and stuff like that. So it takes a lot of work. So it makes sense why no one in this state has really been able to kind of keep up with the demand. And because there's actually a lot of snake breeders out here, and there's specifically like we have a lot of guys that do boas, and they might just be like Central American stuff, or they don't get huge, but that's still like, if there's a lot of guys like 200 boas, adult breeder boas out here, and they can't get rodents. And so there's, for like as long as I can remember in this state, there's never been a good supplier that can consistently do it. And so we're just trying to be that thing that way. I mean, I know guys that aren't pairing up snakes. They can't get rodents to feed the babies. And so they have these crazy snake collections, and they're like, well, I don't have enough to feed up all my females for breeding season because I can't get rats right now. And then if I do have all the babies, I don't want to be irresponsible and produce snakes just for the sake of producing them. So, we're trying to really do it big. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. It's cool seeing the whole project expand from something that started in a 16 by 12 shed in my backyard. Now it's in a 5,000 square foot building, and yeah, it's going smooth. We're selling like every weekend. We'll go sell to a local reptile shop, and they are like, we can't get enough. Like, please, like
bring more.
Yeah, and so we're almost at that point where once all of our racks get here, we'll really be blowing up. And then if local people in Arizona could hit me up for rats if they need them. The company's called Phoenix Feeders. Pretty basic, straightforward. But
are you guys shipping frozen thawed or anything like that yet?
Not yet. We're gonna try to do just live because right now a lot of the pet shops will order frozen thawed from Cold Blooded Cafe and stuff like that. Because they'll order. I mean, Cold Blooded Cafe, a small rat right now, I think is $2.95. Those local shops will sell that small frozen rat for $7. Yeah, and so they, even with just like buying rodents online, the shops can still make a decent amount of profit because of the demand for rodents right now, but they can't get live anywhere. And so that a lot of people out here feed live too, because we've got a bunch of ball python breeders. I don't feed any of my stuff live, but that's like a huge demand out here. So we're just trying to get that going. And pet shops like live too, because they generally have racks in the back, and they'll be like, we'll buy all your smalls, and then they'll raise them up to be larges for a couple weeks, and then they can sell larges. So yeah, they like having live
for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely been. It'll be really nice when we can get things to a high enough number to where
dude,
we can just get what we need. And
I'm drowning.
I'm trying, man.
Over here, man.
How many tubs are you guys running?
So we have 2 racks of 4, and they're like cat litter pans that got discontinued. So when that happened, finding that same model, because I wanted 2 sets so I could just refill the new ones, pop them in, and then take out the old ones and dump them instead of having to dump them, clean them, then refill them. So we have 2 racks of those, and I usually keep about, like I said, one male to 3 females, maybe 2 females depending. But then we have 2 of the tubs from Reptile Basics. They're rat breeder, the biggest tubs, and we'll grow out 20 or so in that until they're old enough. And then we have another rack that my dad and I built that has concrete mixers that we haven't even filled up yet because we hit a snag with production in like the early winter, and that's kind of set us back a good bit. So trying to get numbers back up to be able to fill that bigger rack and then really be able to ramp things up, because I mean at this rate we're pretty much just trying to breed to maintain our stuff, and eventually we would like to breed enough to be able to help out Billy Hunt and some of our other buddies and stuff and whatnot. So we're just trying to get there at this point.
Yeah, that's initially why I started doing it, is because like just going and seeing the prices of rodents, it was crazy. So I was like, I just want to be able to feed my stuff. And so I started breeding in my shed. I like insulated it, put an AC unit in there, got a couple racks, and then I had a couple guys, Vito, actually, the guy I get my carpet pythons from. He was like, yo, what do you think about expanding to like maybe at this point I was producing like 200 rats a month. He was like, what do you think about trying to get to like 2,000? I was like, I don't know if I can in my shed, but I'll try. And so I just started building racks and building racks and building racks. And then I filled up my shed, and then I had a coworker at Guitar Center that his name's David Weaver. He's one of the guys that runs the rodent place with me. I got him to quit his job at Guitar Center too and do rats. But
and walk out.
Yeah, we left.
Taking everybody with me.
Yeah, we're ratmen now. But I filled up his garage with racks, and so we got to a point to where we were completely full, like to the brim, and producing. We were selling like 500 a week to the local shops. So yeah, we're producing like 2,000 just rats a month between just our my shed and David's garage. And I didn't I didn't have too many plans to go past that, but Vito kind of convinced me, like, let's go bigger. Like,
yeah, I mean, now's the time.
Yeah, there's a huge issue with rodents right now, and so we buckled down. We got a plan together and started searching for a building, and that was the hardest part of this whole thing, was finding someone with a space for rent.
Yeah,
that when you have 10 tenants come tell you what they're going to do with your space, you're going to say no to the rat guys every time.
Yeah.
And so that was super hard. It took us like, it seemed like almost a year to find a building, but we got one, and now it's rolling. And we have people sending us inquiries of like how many rats they need a month, and it's insane. Like, there's no way we will be able to keep up. So like, I think what you guys are doing is what most keepers out there, I feel like, should be doing. Like, try to get something set up to where if you're like super passionate about this and you love reptiles, there's money to be made in rodents. And it's not directly like you're not a snake breeder, you're a rodent breeder, but you're working in the industry. And so I think that there's a lot of people that kind of talk about this industry like there's no money to be made. But I think that's kind of maybe just lazy people try to, like, they see the amount of work that goes into making it in this industry, and they're like, oh no, man, like, you're gonna be working 7 days a week. It's like, yeah, I do, but I go work at a rat building where I've got a bunch of Apodora, and like, I don't have to like, it doesn't cost me anything to keep snakes. And it actually helps pay for a lot of my snakes too. And if you're a rodent breeder, I don't do this because rats are paying my bills now. But if you breed rodents, people are going to want to trade snakes for rodents. And so you'll get all kinds of people trying to give you cool stuff. So I recommend a lot of people, like, start doing what you guys are doing, breed your own stuff, and you can sell off the extra, make a little bit of extra money, and you can make this hobby pay for itself easy. I have one clutch of carpet pythons in the incubator. I'm not a snake breeder, but I've been making money off this hobby by breeding rodents and meeting people, and meeting great people that have given me great deals on snakes because of the rodents that I have. And so it's one of those things where it's a weird thing within the hobby, but I think it's something that more people should be kind of interested in doing, because it's going to take the hobby so much further, and it's going to help you knowing that you're feeding the healthiest stuff to your collection.
The biggest thing for me is I know what's going in them. You know, I know like where they're coming from. And I don't know, I actually enjoy it. I don't know
I do
why.
too.
There's something about it that I get enjoyment and like fulfillment out of, with, opening a tub and seeing a nice big old clump of babies and knowing that and doing something right. It just
right.
I don't know. And we have, like, it's such a small operation right now that when he and I go and clean, I mean, we're in and out in like not even a half hour.
Yeah,
it's pretty quick. It's not a lot.
So you guys could probably handle like 10 times the amount that you're running now. And it might take up a little bit of space, but you'll be able to sell like all that extra that you're not using, and it'll help pay for more racks, all that kind of stuff. So I think everyone should try to breed as many rodents as they can, because at the end of the day, you can throw them in the freezer and like freeze stuff for the future if you breed too much. It's hard work, I guess, but I mean, rats and mice are cute, and I love animals. And so it's like that feeling of opening a tub and seeing a bunch of cute little baby rats. And like, I started my whole colony with pet rats. So I've got like hair limbos, like all kinds of crazy stuff where we just keep all the coolest ones. And we even have some with names. So we really enjoy the rats. And so, and it's cool because it takes pressure off me as a snake keeper and potential breeder. I don't need to sell snakes because I get money in the hobby from something else.
Right.
And so, and I also, I can keep all the babies because I have no I have a 5,000 square foot warehouse, and I've got the friends that I do this with have no shortage of racks, cages, and all that kind of stuff. And so I have space. I've got food. It doesn't cost me anything to keep the snakes, and so there's no pressure to sell them. And so I can make whatever snakes I want, as many as I want. I'll probably just end up filling up my friends' facilities pretty quickly. But for me, it's cool because I do have a little bit of I'm breeding a bunch of crazy morphs and carpets, or at least that's what I strive to do, is make a bunch of morphs, and not everyone's into that, but that's okay. I don't have to sell any of those snakes. So I'm making snakes for me at the end of the day. So that definitely, it makes it so I can do what I want within the snake hobby without having to think of like, well, am I going to be able to move these babies? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to move the babies. I've got a lot of room.
Yeah, you're more reliant on the mice and stuff to have to sustain things than
exactly
stuff. So that's I think ideally that's sort of the end goal we're going for eventually, but we're on the slow boat.
Yeah.
Just hold back all the females. Don't call off any females.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I've been calling extra males, but those females, like, we just went through over the last weekend, and it was like, cool, we got 10 extra males. They're done.
Right. Yeah. And that buildup is slow. And because we're feeling it now, or we've been feeling it at the building, where we went in there with like 1,000 breeders, but now we're gonna have to fill like 5 times the amount of racks that we currently have. So we have to have,
we're raising up fast enough.
Yeah, it's like 10 to 12 weeks and that's 3 months for that's all of summer until your babies that were born are ready to roll rat wise. Mice are a little bit shorter, but still it takes a while. But once you get there, it explodes, and then it's madness, and you're like, just don't know what to do with all the rodents you got. And that's a good
problem to have. Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't be complaining. There's plenty of freezer space.
That's where you want to be.
So before we finish up, what kind of drums are you using? What's your brand?
Tama.
Yeah, my man.
So I started playing drums really young. My dad was a drummer. I started playing when I was like 8, 9 years old. And my first kit was a Tama Rockstar. It was his kit, and my dad was like a bar drummer. And so I started out on a nice set. I didn't have to go through that stage of like playing on crappy gear.
Yeah, my first set was Riding's Yamaha.
Okay, nice. Those is a cool kit.
Actually, they didn't sound bad. They weren't anything super high end, but I did eventually switch to Tama because I'm a Tama guy too. So
yeah, Yamaha is great musical equipment. It might not be the flashiest, but it's gonna work, and it's gonna do what you need it to. So I have no beef with Yamaha.
Yamaha does everything.
It's
right,
the only
exactly.
I love their motorcycles.
It's the only brand you can buy a motorcycle, a jet ski, or a drum kit, and maybe a piano while you're at it.
And it'll all great stuff.
They'll all kick ass. Yeah. But yeah, so with drumming, Tama has always been like, I've always played their pedals. I played Axis pedals for a few years, but I've been playing Speed Cobra double pedals. Nice. I've had a few different sets for probably like 10 years now. It's just like the go-to pedal for me. And mainly it's just because it's Tama. Like, I feel like any of those mid-range double pedals I can play on them all the same speed or whatever, have the same chops, but Tama gear just like lasts a long time. It's solid, feels good. When I was on tour, it lasted really well. Yeah, all Tama hardware. I'm not a Tama endorsee.
As far as shells?
So mine, I play a Superstar Hyperdrive maple kit. So it's got the nice shallow toms. I play my toms kind of flat and low. So I like being able to get them a little bit lower with the shallow toms. But Yeah. So maple is probably it's what I've been playing the longest. If I had my preference, though, it'd be birch babinga.
I'm a birch guy. That's what my set is now, and I've always liked the sound of birch the most out of everything.
What Tama kit do you have?
It's a Silver Star.
Okay, nice. I like the Silver Star kit.
Yeah, I don't think they make them anymore, but
nope.
My freaking it was a great set for a great price at the time. You know, they were nothing super high end, but at the same time they were sort of a nice intermediate, you know.
Yeah.
In terms of build quality and stuff.
Right. I had a Thomas Star Classic birch kit for a while, which is a high-end kit, and it got destroyed playing at shitty metal venues where they're like, yeah, go set your drums up in the gravel out back, and it's like, oh god. And then someone carries my drums in and bumps it on every door on the way in. So it's like, I'm not going to drop more than $1,200 on a kit going forward. Like, I can play the same on any kit that if I can sit down and tune the kit, I'm going to be able to play on it how I could play your most expensive DW kit. So for me, it's not, I just love Tama, but the gear for me, like, I feel like is it's just like a very small part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
When it comes to being a musician, it's like guys that a really good guitar player will pick up your cheapest Squire Strat and shred on it. But your entry level guitar player is not going to pick up like a custom shop Fender Telly and shred. Like, it's all comes from the hands and the feet and your brain. And so luckily I didn't get swindled into thinking I had to buy really expensive drum kits and stuff to be good.
Yeah.
So, what are you using?
I am with guitars. I don't spend a lot of money on guitars.
Right.
What are you using for cymbals?
Meinl,
my man. Look at that. Once again, dude. Oh.
Yeah. I love Meinl cymbals.
Dude, they're so awesome.
And I've had an assortment of Meinl stuff. I've had the Byzance, like, extra dry stuff. And I love that for when I was playing by myself, just like jamming, but they didn't fit great with my bands because my bands are pretty heavy and those cymbals are really washy. So now I do the Classics Darks and the pure alloy Meinl stuff, and those, to me, they're crisp, they don't break the bank, they cut through, they last me a long time because I play with big sticks too. I'll play like at least with like a 2B. So and especially playing metal, playing heavier aggressive music, I'll go through cymbals. I used to go through cymbals a lot. Like, I would go through a China cymbal a month for a while, but now I'm not in the point of playing drums where I'm like training every day. I was doing that up until like COVID hit. But now I basically, most of my music time is spent writing music. That's like at the end of the day, it's what I enjoy most in music, is writing. Playing shows is fun, going on tour is fun. And even like playing drums is great, but I love writing music, and so most of my time is spent doing that. I feel like and as long as I just keep my chops up to play my stuff live when we do have shows, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't have to stress too much, but write music is where it's at for me.
Nice.
What about you guys? So you guys both play music? Do you play in bands or anything, or have you?
I have in the past, but nothing like serious.
Yeah.
No, I've just grown up. I grew up playing guitar, and when I was, I did stuff for like my youth group and stuff when I was, going to church when I was younger. So I was more into it in high school, more involved with, guitar and music and whatnot. Ever since I went to college and graduated and been working full time, it's, I actually just picked it up yesterday for the first time in quite a while. I hadn't played, and yeah, I'm starting to get back into it a little bit. I need to pick it up and refresh a lot of stuff.
I dabbled in bass a little bit here and there, but I would never consider myself a bass player. Sometimes I've had one and I'll just tinker with it and look up tabs and the simplest songs and play those.
Bass is cool. It's as I've progressed as a musician, I've learned that bass is like one of the coolest instruments that no one realizes.
Yeah.
Like
until you see a really good bass player play, like, you know, until you see it and really hear, like, you know, a metal band that has that heavy bass in their sound, like that's when you really see like a really talented bassist.
Well, that and realizing what it adds to the mix.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's so subtle, but if it's gone, it's like night and day.
Yeah. So I'm also a recording engineer, and so I'll record other bands and stuff, and that is always that besides the drummer, like as long as the drummer plays in time, if the bassist isn't locked, your mix is never going to sound big. It's not going to ever have that beef. And I didn't realize the importance that the bass plays in the mix until I started recording. And then you realize that no one takes the bass job seriously. And so I would be recording so many different bassists, and they were basically just like guitar players playing a bass, as opposed to like when you get a real bassist in there, you're like, wow, that's where you're supposed to play. Like that's the pocket. Like,
yeah, there's a difference between a guitar player who can pick a bass versus a bass player.
Bass players and guys that play bass.
Yeah, exactly. There really is though. Yeah.
What style of music are you guys into?
I listen to everything, man. I listen to a lot of metal as well, you know.
Yeah.
I just like music, so I'll listen to pretty much anything, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, my playlists ranged a lot, you know, from light rock to heavy metal to more hip hop and some rap and whatnot.
I have been on a serious, and the timing is really bad, but a really serious every time I die kick the last like month.
Okay. Yeah, because didn't they announce they're done?
Yeah, they just they broke up, and I was like, that was kind of when I started paying. I was like, you know what? I had a girlfriend at one point that had on her iPod, and I always never really paid attention to them, but it wasn't until they broke up that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna check that out, and I was like,
turns out you like
it. They're really good. And like shit, but I mean, I'm a massive Deftones fan. That's
okay.
Them and Gojira.
Do you listen to The Contortionist?
Yes.
So that for me, that's probably the band that has inspired me the most over the years. That drummer, more than any other musician. That drummer
he does some really wacky stuff.
Oh, he's so good. He's so good. But like I really Tesseract too. So those two, that's like really the style of metal I'm most into. I would say it was that progressive type stuff. Growing up, I was all about Slipknot, Lamb of God.
Yeah, yep, me too.
Heavy. But skateboarding became
trash if it ain't thrash.
Yeah, exactly. Skateboarding became a huge part of my life, and then I got really into hip hop, and so hip hop actually really helped my drumming too. And I used to have a really poor opinion about hip hop as a young metalhead, which I feel like most
we all did. We all did.
And then you find the hip hop that works for you, and you're like, wow, this is what I was missing. Like, it's not all just like I don't love all metal because I love metal. A lot of metal's garbage to me.
Yes.
But I do love some metal bands, just like in every genre. I mean, I honestly like Cardi B. I'll listen to Madonna. Like, I'm all over the place because I've been playing music and listening to music for so long that I found different ways to appreciate music. As opposed to just heaviness or technicality or whatever. So I'm really all over the place. But my all-time favorite artist is Aesop Rock.
Yeah, I love me some Aesop, man.
Oh man, that guy. So I started listening to him when I was in like 8th grade, and I still listen to his new releases, and I'm like, dude, you're still blowing my mind. Like, there's no other artist in the history of music for me that has ever done 10 plus years of music where every time I'm like, hell yeah, this is great. This is great.
So awesome.
Impossible Kid was an album I listened to a lot when it came out.
Oh, so good. I love that album.
I used to work for Budweiser, and I was a merchandiser, and so I'd have headphones in pretty much every store I went to, and I almost always had that album playing. That and Good Kid, Mad City, which is one of my. I mean, I think that's one of the best rap albums of all time is
Yeah.
Kendrick, and just concept album wise, it's really good. But
yeah,
man, it was freaking Impossible Kid
it was great.
I was
just a
banger.
Yeah, I started out, so I'm like a repeater when it comes to listening to music, and every song on that album became a repeater for me at a different point, where it's like the first song came on, I was like, this is so good, like I just gonna listen to this over and over and over. Then the next song is like this one too, over, and I just wore out on my Spotify top played thing. It's always an entire Aesop album every year. But I don't know, that guy, he blows my mind. Like there's so much to dig into, and I'm kind of that kind of guy who likes to dig into stuff. I do it with snakes, I do it with I did it with drums. I can sit down and look at his lyrics and give my really try to break them down over months over one song, like the song Gopher Guts. I don't know if you're familiar. I spent like weeks obsessing over the lyrics in that song, trying to like read online, like try to really decipher and break down everything he's talking about. And there's so much information and knowledge that guy has that it kind of gets looked at as like gibberish because of the way that he lays it all out. But there's just importance in every line that it just resonates with me. I love that guy.
There's the one song that just makes me laugh now, and it's because I'm getting older. A lot of years.
Oh yeah.
I listen to that song and I'm like, damn, that's kind of where I feel like I'm starting to get to that point where I'm looking around and being like, these kids are fucking dumb.
Right. Maybe I've lost the plot, if not the passion for the novel.
Blood Sandwich.
Oh, great.
You know, that's a great song. That whole album is just fantastic, dude. Yeah.
See, so that guy,
Dorks is probably one of the best on that album, I think. But you know,
just basically talking shit about all the other rap out there, calling them a bunch of dorks. I like that. Great stuff. Aesop's the best.
Well, I could go on about music all night, so we're just gonna have to.
Yeah, same.
Got to cut this one.
Yeah. All right.
Portishead, Massive Attack. I'll shout those out too. I'm a huge Massive Attack fan too.
Okay.
There's 3 bands I have tattooed on my body. That's Massive Attack, Deftones, and Gojira. And that's
nice. So. I think actually Deftones and Gojira came to town here the other day.
Yeah, I know. They've been playing a song that they never actually like fully released. It was on one of like the EPs, like the single album for their self-titled, and they started playing that live now. And I'm like, didn't get tickets.
Did they come through your area?
They're playing in Atlanta next month sometime, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to go. So,
gotcha. That's how it goes when you're an adult.
It is. Just watch it on YouTube and live vicariously.
Yeah.
So, pretend I'm there.
But where can people find you, man?
Yeah.
So I'm really low key when it comes to social media. I really only post on my reptile Instagram, which is chambers.serpents. I made that because I am a musician and I didn't want all my musicians friends to be exposed to snake photos all the time. So my other Instagram is just my name, TJay Chambers. And I don't really post on there a whole lot. My dogs and my wife.
I don't really post there either, but you can follow it if you want to.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, Instagram is about it. I'm on Facebook too, but I'm probably not gonna. I don't really talk to people on there. I don't post. I might post in a group occasionally, but catch me on Instagram.
Cool.
That's where everyone's flocking to. It seems like
Instagram where it's at, man.
That is where it's at.
Definitely.
Right.
This episode was This episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. They currently have 3 of the XC18 cubes ready to go to ship. So if you're interested in any of those, you've been looking at them. They have some that are ready to go. So message them. That's right. Like just ready to box and be put on a truck to your door. And then Steve Snake Syringe Venom Hot Sauce. Please check him out as well. Facebook, Instagram. Snakeshuary.com. SteveSnakeshuary.com.
SteveSnakeshuary.com.
So we will see y'all Monday for Snakes and Stogies episode 120.
And we will see y'all next week for THP 160.
It is 160. We have John Lasseter.
John Lasseter
currently, which is kind of a big deal because he don't do
No, he
podcasts,
doesn't.
man.
I saw you put that in the group the other day, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's kind of a
John
big deal.
Lasseter's
I guess
coming
him and Chris apparently drank a lot one night, and Chris convinced him to do it. So
nice.
they're drinking buddies. So
Well, we're gonna have a solid lineup of questions for this one.
yeah, that's gotta be on our A game.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, TJ. It was a fun episode. Always love talking scrubs.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.
Yeah, man.
All right, man.
Have a
See
good
y'all.
night.
Everyone have a good evening.
Yep.
Later.